As a great Irishman once said, and as another Irishman repeated, we didn't just come to take part, we came to take over. Well, it looks like there is actually potentially an Irish takeover on the horizon for the UFC. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to get uh, a replication of the three African kings that we had when Francis Ngannou, Israel Adesanya, and Kamaru Usman were champ, but the UFC have really gone heavy on these Irish signings lately. We've got obviously Ian Gary got signed, but that was years ago, and he's a ranked contender now in the welterweight division. But also we had Shayna Bannon, sorry, who got signed to the UFC. We have Kieran Crosby. Reece McKee got re-signed to the UFC. I know he's Northern Irish, but still he's Irish. Uh, at the end of the day, he's of Irish ethnicity and Irish nationality. Well, I mean, technically British nationality, but still not getting into the whole fucking political fucking division and all that with Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. But still, he's Irish. And also, it's looking like Lee Hammond might be signed to the UFC as well because he put out a post on his Instagram saying waiting for the contract at UFC. So there's another Irish fighter. So it looks like the UFC have actually gone. Oh, and sorry, and this weekend as well we have Carolyn. Sorry, how do I? I'm just gonna need to properly pronounce his name here. Carlin Loughran. I think that's how you pronounce it. I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. But yeah, also he's also in the UFC. I don't know if I mentioned it before. I don't think I did. So that's another Irish fighter. And then yeah, Lee Hammond's teasing that he's signed to the UFC as well. So that's another Irish fighter. So honestly, we've got a resurgence in Irish MMA, which is cool to see. I'm not saying that any of these guys are going to go on to be champion. I think out of all these guys, the guy with the highest ceilings definitely Ian Gary. He's already ranked and came off a good win over Neil Magny. I don't know if he'll be champion either, but he's got the best chance. But yeah, it looks like the UFC are really going heavy on the Irish market. I guess there's a few reasons why they might be doing this, in my opinion. So they might want to build up some Irish stars on a Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler undercard. I think that's a good possibility. McGregor. Some of these guys are McGregor teammates, like Kieran Crosby. He's a teammate of Conor McGregor, and Lee Hammond, of course, teammate of Conor McGregor, was also on The Ultimate Fighter. But the other possibility is Dana did say that if Ian Gary wins another fight, they would do a Dublin card. So I guess they're just building up. They're getting all the Irish talent they can for when they do come back to Dublin. But honestly, the thing that really doesn't make sense to me with all these Irish signings and everything they've signed, they don't even have arguably the best Irish fighter. Maybe second best. I'd say maybe Ian Gary's better than this guy, but fucking Paul Hughes. Why is Paul Hughes not in the UFC? They signed Sean O'Bannon, they signed all these Irish fighters. Kieran Crosby, but why is Paul Hughes not in the UFC? Like he's a really good fighter in Cage Warriors. He's the featherweight champion. Has a really good skill set. He's beat pretty good level of competition. Has a win over Morgan Charrier, who's fighting this weekend. So he's got a win over a UFC fighter. So I don't know why Paul Hughes is in the UFC. If they want to do this whole Irish takeover, then you got to get Paul Hughes in there, man. Like generally, this guy's really good. And good wins. Beat Jordan Vucenic, I think that's how you pronounce it, who's pretty good as well. Like he's got good wins. And he's been calling for it. He was willing to go fight Nasrat Haqparast, but they ended up moving Nasrat's fight to the Sydney card and had him fight Landon Quinones, which is still really weird. But yeah, I don't know. If they're going to do this whole Irish takeover, or at least Irish resilience or whatever, they got to get Paul Hughes on there because I think he generally could go and do some big things in the UFC, but I don't know about these other guys. I don't know. I don't really see Kieran Crosby going on to do massive things in the UFC. I could be wrong. Who knows? Maybe he's improved a lot since his Bellator tenure, but you never know. I think Kieran Crosby's probably going to lose to Kevin Jousset because I'm pretty high on Kevin Jousset. I've watched a lot of Kevin Jousset's fights, and I know how good this guy is. But maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe Kieran Crosby will go on to do big things, and maybe we'll get a Ian Gary versus Kieran Crosby for the UFC Championship. I don't generally think that will happen, but you never know. This sport's crazy. Crazier things have happened. Maybe we'll get Kieran Crosby versus Reese McKee for the interim title to fight UFC champion Ian Gary. Who knows? You never know with this sport. Like, you just never know. Like, craziest shit has happened in MMA, but I find it highly unlikely, though, personally, that that's going to happen. But yeah. And then Lee Hammond, I think Lee Hammond actually has a pretty high ceiling. He's 27 years old, I believe. Like, he's pretty young. He was dominating against Kurt Holloway, and like just made him like a little mistake and then lost. So, and we've seen Kurt Holloway's on the best run of his career. So I think Lee Hammond could actually go pretty far. But these other, like Shauna Bannon, I don't think she's going to really go and be champion or anything. I don't really know much about Loughran, so I'm not going to speak on him yet. I guess we'll see how he does against his opponent this weekend. Got switched up, got a much tougher matchup than he was originally going to get. So if he can go in there and win that fight, then yeah, this guy's got a really high ceiling. But yeah, maybe they're going to bring Dean Barry back to lead the fucking charge, lead the charge for the Irish. But I think it's cool that they've done this. They've signed all these Irish fighters. So I reckon that Dublin card, when they do it, will go pretty hard. I think the Irish fan base is pretty dedicated. So once we see, these guys all walking out and everything in front of a big Dublin crowd, I think all their reactions, they're all going to get loud cheers and everything. So that'll be pretty cool. And they'll probably sign a few more Irish fighters before then. But yeah, just wanted to speak about the Irish takeover that is happening. The proper Irish takeover. Because when McGregor came and took over, but nobody else really did big things. There was Paddy Hololan, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Sorry if I butchered that. He didn't really come and do, like, he made events at the fight night, so he did some things in the division, but didn't completely take over. But maybe this time's different. Maybe all these guys are going to go on to do big things. But I don't know. There was not much I could talk about today, if I'm being honest. So yeah, I just thought this is the one option I could think about making a video on. But I actually might make another video later if I could figure out something to talk about. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.